because once people start to see the dots connected, this apparently bewildering, confused, impossible to fathom
makes
world
total sense.
Starts to make sense. But you know, I at the risk of being repetitive, we really have, those people who have woken up have really now got to turn their minds to what are we going to do to it.
And they've got to realize
ourselves every day.
And they've got to realize
every day, what have we contributed today to bringing an end to this move, this enormously quickening move now to this Orwellian state, and what have we done to inform more people of what's going on? Because there's nothing more important than this information. Because if we don't sort this out, everything goes, everything ends, and we've really got to focus on what do we do rather than just learning more about it.
Well, I just want to repeat what you were saying, but another way. This is the time, folks. This is the window for the enemy and for humanity. This is it, and it's only going to intensify for the next decade, and then that's going to decide the future destiny of humanity. We are at the crossroads. They try to use fake Christianity to neutralize the majority of Christians, to think it's the, there's nothing you can do, the devil's coming, don't warn anybody, just wait to be raptured. That is designed to make you sit out. They get the Buddhists to sit out thinking, it's all the will of the singularity of the universe. All these mainline religions, and I'm not attacking them. I'm saying what the New World Order's done with them is turn them into excuses to lay there and lay down and take it. You need to be active in this one time to live, in this key time that we are alive. And what David Icke is saying is absolutely true. The power you have right now with blogs and emails and calling into shows and talking to people on the street and picketing and going to city council and saying no to the system and making little internet films or big internet films, the power that, so many well-to-do people who've sat on the sidelines and said, I'm going to see what happens. I know you're right about this, but I'm going to see what happens. Before we went to break, David, you brought up a key area. People in the middle and upper strata of the New World Order are going, my God, they really do plan to kill 80% or more. My God, they really are putting sodium fluoride in the water to brain damage people. My God, they really are, and it's all coming out. And so people are really starting to find out in the system, what do they do? What's your advice to not just the grassroots, but say a police captain? I found out.
This is a key area, because you've got the pyramid, you've got the few at the top who are doing it in full awareness, and then you've got the mass of the people in society at the bottom. But between those points, you've got this, if you like, middle management of the pyramid, which is absolutely essential to installing the agenda that's dictated from above, but doesn't have the full picture, and often very little of the picture of how the pieces fit and what they're actually contributing to. And they have children and grandchildren who are going to have to live and face the consequences of them doing nothing. And so, like I say, in the last little while, I've talked to some of these people, and they've gone, hold on a second, I think I've realized what I've been contributing to all this time. Now, this is the level that if they start to rebel, if they start to refuse, if they start to question, if they start, my goodness me, to speak out publicly and say, I know this is happening because I'm on the inside, and I can tell you this, if they start to do that, then a massive spanner is thrown in the works, because you're talking about a few people in full knowledge who are manipulating, and they have to manipulate the population to manipulate and control each other and to imprison each other. And if those people, those key levels of management, if you like, start to refuse to do that, start to speak out, refuse to impose ludicrous laws that come straight out of Nazi Germany, then the system can't function. And if the people in mainstream society who are not in those positions also start to get together on a mass campaign of civil disobedience and refusal to cooperate with their own enslavement, then the whole thing starts to fall apart, because there's a few of them and there's an enormous amount of us, and we need to stop asking, are you a Christian? Are you a Muslim? I won't take you seriously if you're not. And all this nonsense, which is putting all of us in the same prison cell. I tell you what, When we're in a prison cell and the doors are slammed shut and there's guards all around, let's have a debate about who's got the right religion, shall we? Let's have a debate with our children whose very thoughts are being controlled by them about what religion they should follow or whether they should vote for this person or that person or whether this country's better than another. Let's start to grow up, because if we don't, this is the road we're going down. But if we do, it's a house of cards, this whole thing. It's a house of cards. And who's holding it together? We are. We need to stop. And when we do, it'll fall. But not unless we do.
Well, it is your capacity and others' capacity to empathize that leads to greater knowledge. People that only care about themselves think that they're winning or having some big victory as they covet something in the dark corner. But empathizing, when you start caring about other people, and when you see their abuse as your abuse, and when you see an Iraqi child with their legs blown off, and you empathize, that could be my child, and you start standing up against that crime, it's that idea and that idea put into action that brings liberty and freedom. It's the idea, oh, they're subhuman, kill them, that will bring death and destruction to your own children. Because if you let evil...
I'll tell you what, Alex, I'll tell you one thing that would change this world overnight because of all that would come from it. If everybody or vast numbers of people stop making decisions on situations they face every day on the basis of what's right for me, and start to ask the question when they're making decisions on their action, what is right? If we do what is right, then we stand up for the injustice against others, even if we're not affected by it. If we have a situation, this is how it works. I hear people say, well, I'm not bothered about his freedom of speech because I don't agree with him. I mean, if one person does not have the freedom to express their free chosen view, then none of us do, because everything else after one person loses that right is not the right to freedom of speech. It's the right to conform within the limits of what is acceptable to say. So one person loses their freedom of expression, we all lose it. And one person is targeted by these fascists, then we all need to stand with them. Whether we agree with them, whether we like them, whether they're a different religion, a different color, it doesn't matter. We need to come together and stop
absolutely
these fault lines of divide and rule, because that's the way it's done. And we stop doing it, the whole agenda comes under tremendous pressure because it can't function and it can't play out.
Now, David, we've talked about the awakening, people taking action, a lot of solutions today, and we're going to have you back up the next month if you can do it to get more into that and some of your new books and videos that are out available at davidicke.com. But I wanted to spend some time on the enemy's agenda and their program. They're having a meeting in Europe, in Brussels today, with the Chinese government's proposal. This is in the Associated Press and on the UN's website, and with the NSA to decide on a global standard how to enforce Internet ID where you're tracked and traced, and so they can turn your Internet ID off if they don't like the post you're making. So a universal ban. Because now if they restrict YouTube or Google or something, people just move to other sites and those become popular. They want to be able to universally ban and control. They openly say they're bringing in Internet 2 and blocking most IPs and blocking most websites. There's hundreds of ways they're attacking. Comcast, Time Warner, blocking in many cities now on many systems, down to just a few thousand sites you can visit from billions. I mean, it's happening. It's not in the realm of gonna come, might happen. It's now here. They are moving. YouTube is implementing the bill that hasn't even passed the Senate yet to restrict anything basically criticizing the government. 9/11 Truth has been listed as to be banned on the web. I mean, you can't make this up. It's in the bill. They showed 9/11 Truth next to Al-Qaeda in Congress in videos they showed. Architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth. They're so scared of those scholars. How do we protest and demonstrate and boycott Time Warner Cable? And people say, well, they're not blocking IPs yet or blocking web addresses in Austin or Dallas. It's only in areas of South Texas or areas of Canada. They're beta testing. You boycott them all now and let them know you're doing it because of this. You educate the public. You explain that. I mean, what are your ideas to save the Internet?
Well, exactly. The one thing we can do is when these people impose these things, we just move away from them. Because what you're describing is what we have in Britain when the government says we're having a trial. And when the government says we're having a trial, you know actually this is what's coming next for everybody. They have trials of all different things to do with this Orwellian agenda. Oh, it's just a trial. We've had a trial recently in terms of tracking car speeds over a period of many, many miles instead of on one camera as you pass it.
And let me stop you.
It was obvious that trial was going to become universally introduced, and that's what they've now announced they're going to do.
David,
it's at the point of the trial we need to jump in and start resisting it, not when the whole thing's a fait accompli.
Well, I mean, I was about to say, when it's corporate propaganda, because everything is phrased like, it's no big deal, it's just a trial, doesn't affect anyone, don't worry, and then a year later everybody's got to do it. Remember, it was just a trial 5 years ago with transponders taxing people in London. Now they're doing it and taxing you at 5-6 pounds per way. Oh, it's just a trial to make people take satellite systems in their cars that remote control them and call the police when you speed. And now England wants to make it the law. Drivers could have speed limit by satellite device.